fourth episode of In the Real, where we go deeper into the movie Gilda. I've decided on a nighttime shoot because we're in the world of the film noir, and the film noir is definitely concerned with nighttime. And I've left the windows of my solarium open so we get those sounds of the city of Newark, since many of film noir takes place in a city. I'm hoping to be inspired by the sounds I am hearing as I talk to you. The world of film noir is dark, and Gilda is certainly a dark film on many levels. The very first thing I think about when it comes to Gilda is that it takes place in the city of Buenos Aires, Argentina. And the first thing I would point out to you is, where are the Argentinians? Where are South American actors in this film? They're not there. They're non-existent. And I think it's very important to realize not only what's in a film, but also what's been left out of a film. Clearly, Gilda is shot in studio. It's not on location in Argentina or even in Buenos Aires. And we get the faintest hint of Buenos Aires in the light tango music that occurs at different moments throughout the movie. But it's not overtly tango. You would have to know the music and understand the style of tango music to pick up what you're really listening to. The other thing I find very clear about Gilda is that this is a very clean city. And I have been to many cities, from Newark to Paris to London to Philadelphia, and there's a grittiness, and there's litter, and the cities, usually the buildings haven't been power washed, let's say. And we don't get that gritty feeling. And Buenos Aires is a city filled with poor people, and we see none of them in the film. So I wanted to point that out. But also, Argentina itself, at the end of World War II, many Nazis were escaping to Argentina to hide from the authorities that would arrest them and put them on trial for their war crimes. And Gilda hints at that darkness throughout the film around the business, this sort of tungsten business that Balin is in charge of or oversees. He's clearly a very powerful man. And we get the feeling that he probably, if he's not a Nazi, he's at least working with the Nazis. And we definitely get that when he shows Balin his safe and shows Balin the combination for the safe. There's something underhanded going on. And when you look at the newspapers from that time period, and even movies being made today, and I think there's a show on Amazon Prime all about hunting Nazis. I haven't seen it. It just went past me a few days ago as I was preparing for this shoot. And I should have memorized its title, but I did not. But I'll look it up and put a little edit in here with some text saying what it is. So there's that darkness. But then there's also another darkness within the film, and that is Johnny. And we get the feeling that he is a repressed homosexual. Or, yeah, that he's a repressed homosexual. And we see so many different instances of what looks like attraction, or at least a very intense homosocial relationship. It feels a little bit more than a bromance. Notice as you're watching the film, or if you need to go back and look at it, how intense the eye contact is between Balin and Johnny. It's something we usually don't see between two men.
You know you're being very stupid. Probably. You'd simply have me gambling on the wrong side. It'd be better if you had me on your side.
I don't like my people to cheat.
I'd cheat with my own money, sure. But with your money, I wouldn't have to cheat. Think it over.
Also, Who is Johnny dressing for? He looks really sharp once he comes into Balin's world.
A cane like that can come in handy. It is a most faithful and obedient friend. It is silent when I wish it to be silent. It talks when I wish to talk. That's your idea of a friend? That is my idea of a friend. You must lead a gay life. I lead the life I like to lead. You're a lucky man. I make my own luck. What are you doing in a neighborhood like this? I came down to save your life. Don't overdo it. He wouldn't have killed me if I'd given him the money. But you wouldn't have given him the money.
And don't we get better dressed when we want to attract someone? And sure, Johnny loves the idea of status. We could argue that. But you have to understand that there's different layers of meaning that can be added. And the other thing that I think about, usually a repressed homosexual communicates that repression through violence. And so when we see him punch out one of Balin's men, yes, he's getting revenge, but it's also a show in front of Balin, showing how manly he is.
You see? This way you'll have two friends. You've no idea how faithful and obedient I can be. For a nice salary.
And even when Gilda enters, we still do not see him really looking at her in a sexual way. And the women that are in the casino, he's not looking at and desiring or lusting after. And so those are some of the things that I want to point out that you may miss in the film. That is the darkness of Gilda. But let's go to something more light. So, behind the scenes, there is a man working. His name is Jack Cole. He designs some of the dresses that Rita Hayworth is wearing. He also did the choreography for Rita Hayworth for her 2 numbers. The dress that you see in her striptease is famous. No dress had been made like that before this movie, and there has been knockoff after knockoff of that black striptease dress. I also want to point out that striptease is very light. I mean, she gets off some gloves, a necklace, and she asks for help with her zipper, because, you know, as she says, she's not very good with zippers, which is a great player kind of line. And so we have this man who helps create Gilda into a star. I mean, Rita Hayworth into a star. And I think Charles Bidar, the director, does as well. I absolutely love that moment where we're introduced to Gilda, where she's outside of the frame and she pops up, throws the hair back, and she's just astounding and lovely. And everything in the movie makes her an object to be lusted after and to be admired. Notice how beautifully she's lit the entire time. But let's go to one of her first songs when she leaves Balin. You'll notice in the background, I think there's about 4 tables. And I've always been asked the question, semester after semester when I've showed this film, are those real people behind her? Because the actors aren't moving. And I have to explain to the class, as I'm explaining to you, that in fact those are real actors behind Gilda as she's performing. And if you watch very closely, you will see that there is the actress on the left-hand side of the frame. She moves a little bit. That lets us know that there are real people back there. But one of the things you have to understand about acting training, all actors are trained not to upstage the action. Those 4 tables in the background, those actors are not moving because they don't want to pull focus from the main action, which is Gilda's performance. So I've just let you in a little bit onto actor training. And if I have filmmakers, you want to make sure when you're working with your extras that they don't move and steal the shot. And if you watch a lot of films, you'll notice that the movements are very small and dainty, and they don't take away from the overall action. I want to go a little further with Jack Cole. He's very important when it comes to film and dance on film. Early in his entertainment career, he was a dancer in the very first American modern dance company. The company was called Denny Shawn, and you should definitely look up Denny Shawn. But why I bring this up is because Jack Cole was a jack of all trades. In early dance companies, you couldn't just be a dancer. You had to help out the company, and you learned a lot about marketing, about costume design. You most likely had to build your own costumes or help out with building costumes. You would help out building the set pieces. Nowadays, when it comes to filmmaking, each person generally has one, maybe two talents. But that was not how early artists, performing artists, worked. You knew a lot about many different things and you tried to have a lot of skills. And I feel like movies are made better by people who have multiple skills. And of course, there are unions. You probably can only do that one job. But knowing how to do something else is going to help you have a great collaboration with, let's say, your costume designer or your set designer, because you know something about building costumes or building sets. And it's extremely important to know how to market your films. So this is me just talking to the possible filmmakers in the class and giving you an insider tip. On top of that, I definitely think you should look up Jack Cole and research him and find some biographies about him, because he's very inspirational and he really added to the world of dance. And in fact, a few years ago, the Museum of Modern Art, which has this huge film collection, did this whole retrospective on Jack Cole and showed why he was so important to film. So I'm going to leave you with that information. I hope you have enjoyed this episode of In the Real, and I hope this helped you to look at the realness of Gilda. Have a great week. Bye-bye.